Hi everyone, and welcome to this absolutely special edition of Product Insights. I'm here today with Juraj Komloši. He's our Chief Information Officer here at Kentico. And the reason why I brought him in to have a chat today is because I've been traveling around the world talking to everyone at Kentico Connection recently. And I've got a lot of questions around how does Kentico manage security? So there is no one better in Kentico to talk about security than Juraj. So Juraj, welcome.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you very much for inviting me here.
Oh, it's great to have you. So tell me a little bit about you and what interested you first in security.
Sure. I would be more than happy to share a bit about myself. Actually, the whole Kentico journey began in 2008 when I joined the Kentico family. And my first job was QA engineer, so I was responsible for looking or hunting for bugs. And it was really interesting to improve the quality of the product. And, over some time, there was an opportunity to join newly formed team. It was called Cloud and Security. And by the way, it was headed by our current CEO, Dominic Pinter. So that was really interesting. And at that time, I dedicated myself exclusively to product security, and I was responsible for looking, security bugs and, educating our developers, creating best practices, how to create a secure product. And the team, just extended to some new members. We hired new people, and I became security specialist, which was really a responsible role because I was also responsible for, the whole security strategy regarding the product security. And after some time, it was another opportunity, or I achieve another career milestone because I became a Chief Information Security Officer. And in this activity, my responsibilities extended to ensuring the whole security of the entire company. Mm-hmm. So it was not only about the product security, but in addition to that, I became responsible for the compliance, for the data privacy, for the information security in general meaning. So it's actually 10 years right now I've been working in security. Mm-hmm. So that was a little bit of my journey here at Kentico in the security field.
That's fantastic. And so from your perspective, how would you think that Kentico approaches security? So,
Sure. Securing a software company involves implementing, I would say, comprehensive and adaptive approach to address various threats and vulnerabilities. Because as you can imagine, there is a lot of risk around you, which may have some impact on your business if you simply ignore them. So the core of our security approach is risk assessment and management. It means we regularly evaluate all the risks, vulnerabilities and threats. Mm-hmm. We need to prioritize them and to make sure we know what is the impact on our business and what's the likelihood of occurrence. And then we simply create some mitigation plan. So we mitigate this risk to the acceptable level. Let's call it security appetite. Mm-hmm. When it's done, you can implement the security controls, and it's about implementing information security policies. It's something like guidelines for our employees. What should they do in terms of security? We can name, for example, acceptable use policy, which describes how our employees should behave, for example, regarding the using internet, emails, network security, and so on. So there are many policies we simply follow and define as a part of our ISO 27001 certification. So what is really important in our approach is also regular external assessments not only about the product security, but also in terms of compliance. So Kentico, as I said, is ISO 27001 compliant company, and we achieved also SOC 2 report 2 years ago. So we have regular external assessment if we strictly meet all these requirements defined in these standards. So that's also another proof that we are doing right things with, I would say, right people. So definitely something which is really important for us, not just to do internal reviews, internal assessment, but also have some proof that we are doing the right things by the external company. That's I would say, our approach into the security. And there are many other aspects we follow. What is also important, and I would like to mention, is the security awareness in the company, because you have to spread a positive security culture.
Yes.
Only in this environment you can be pretty sure that there will be no security incident, or you minimize the impact of the security incidents when your people and your employees knows what to do. For example, if any incidents occur or something like that. So positive security approach is something we would like to have in our company.
You've just reminded me that my security awareness training is due, and I have another 2 weeks to complete it. So thank you for the reminder.
Awesome.
That's definitely a good time for us to be having this conversation. So, but the interesting thing is, Kentico's gone through a pretty big change, over the last year or so. So Kentico previously was really focused on on-premise software, and recently we've moved into the cloud space with the SaaS offering. Now, that obviously is going to bring a lot of changes and kind of challenges potentially for you as the CIO. Tell me a little bit about that. What kind of changes and challenges have you seen and had to manage in this transition period?
Exactly. You're completely right. When a company transitions from developing only on-premise software to becoming a software as a service vendor, it definitely introduced new challenges in the security because, as you can imagine, in the on-premise environment, our customers were responsible for almost everything. It was completely up to them where they will host the data, how they will encrypt the data, what will be the network security, what will be the backup strategy, what will be the business continuity strategy. It was everything up to them. And right now, this responsibility simply moved to us as a vendor. So that's something we need to adopt because it was really challenge at the beginning just to persuade our customers that the data is safe on our side. So it's maybe good to mention that the Xperience by Kentico service is fully hosted in Microsoft Azure Cloud. So that's our primary platform where the product is hosted, and it all basically requires us to follow some additional, security controls. For example, the most important area is data security. Obviously, we need to ensure that the data is encrypted at rest, on transit, and for example, that the infrastructure is properly configured and secured. So you need to have some static analysis code, in the development to make sure that the infrastructure is secured. You have to implement some network security controls, for example, web application firewall we use, and just to make sure that the customer websites is protected probably against most common security attacks. Another interesting area is, for example, business continuity disaster recovery. Right now, it's up to us to make sure that the service will be available, and we need to ensure the service scalability. We need to ensure proper backup strategy. We need to be sure that we are able to recover the data if something bad happens.
Absolutely.
It could happen, the reasons varies, but it could be some outage on Microsoft Azure infrastructure. It could be probably some mistakes here at Kentico, but what is the most important, that we should be able to react very promptly and to make sure that the customer website is up and running basically in a reasonable time. So that's definitely our responsibility. It's not only about the security, it's called confidentiality, but it's also about integrity and availability. And we have to ensure all these three factors together.
CIA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And definitely the last important thing is integrating, security into development lifecycle, because it's all about the development. We are a software company, so what is most important, that software.
All right, so you're with Xperience by Kentico and going into the SaaS offering, this isn't the first time that you, as the security specialist here at Kentico, has actually had to go through the process of transitioning to the cloud and looking at the security aspects of that. You were involved with Content.ai, which, as we all know, is no longer a part of Kentico, but you were involved in the birth of that particular product, and yes, that obviously is running in the cloud. So tell me a little bit about that.
Exactly. I had the opportunity to be at the beginning of the Content.ai service, so it was definitely the cloud approach, and we became a SaaS vendor earlier. So we had a lot of experience with providing cloud service to our customers, and basically at that time we needed to adopt all these new controls to learn how to secure the data in the cloud, how to provide the first level services to our customers, how to deal with the compliance, how to deal with the SOC 2 certification, how to implement a lot of controls,
lots of learning,
a lot of learnings, a lot of controls, a lot of educations. So we did some initial researches, and then we started to adopt this security technologies, and so far I believe we successfully went through this transformation to the cloud provider, and that's definitely a huge advantage of Kentico right now, that we had a lot of experience with providing cloud services to our customers, and I believe we took the best from the beginning of offering our cloud services, and now we were able to improve this. And right now I believe even if Xperience by Kentico SaaS is relatively new service, we had a lot of experience, so we were very well prepared before we launched the Xperience by Kentico to the cloud. So we had already established processes about the data security. We exactly knew how we will manage the infrastructure, how we will manage the updates, how we will manage the availability of the service. So we simply took the best from the beginning of using this service, and right now I believe we are a really reliable vendor, because we have at least 5-6 years of experience with offering cloud services. So yeah, it was definitely a huge advantage of us, and we are proud of that we were able to launch Xperience by Kentico SaaS so smoothly.
So you've mentioned two really important things. One is the development lifecycle, and the other one's the kind of the infrastructure. But talk to me about the development lifecycle. So what are the security aspects of that, and how does Kentico ensure that we're producing a quality product that's secure for our customers?
Security development lifecycle is not a new methodology to us, because as I said, I've been working almost 10 years in the security, and the security development lifecycle was one of the first thing we implemented at Kentico. So it's been here like for 8 years or 9 years. So we definitely followed the security development lifecycle even before we have some cloud product and so on. So we just extended the scope of the security development lifecycle also to our cloud service, to the infrastructure and so on. Integrating security into development lifecycle is quite an essential activity, I would say, for all software companies. It requires first of all, and the most important again is the training and awareness. You should properly train your developers so they know how to write secure code. They know how to find security vulnerabilities, how to do the security review, and so on. The good idea here is to adopt principle, we call it shift left in the mindset. So you address the security in the early phases of the development. So you minimize the impact of any security issues, or in general the number of security issues in the later phases where it's really expensive to fix it, and it also has the higher impact on your business if you, for example, release the product with the security issue. Exactly. So the security awareness is a key, and there are some different stages we implement the security into the stages. For example, implementation, verification, and requirements. So in each phase you need to put some controls to make sure that the security is addressed properly, and then at the end there is a final security review with performed by our product security team, and that's just the last step, where we verify that there are no security issues in it. So that's about the security development lifecycle. Of course, there are many controls during the implementation, a lot of automatization, because you couldn't look at each line of code, so you need to have some tools which can help you.
Yes. And
at the end, regularly we had also the annual security assessment by external company. So there is an external penetration test with scope of Xperience by Kentico product, and we try to address all these issues immediately, actually, which is a really good sign of the fact that we are doing the security right. Is that the last security assessment found only 2 or 3 low security issues. There were no medium or higher severity issues. Great. So that's really amazing result, I would say, and that's a good sign that you implemented security into development lifecycle in a good way.
Excellent. That's really good. So because we're talking a little bit about the cloud as well, and you were talking about the infrastructure aspects. One of the things that's a little bit different about the way Xperience by Kentico works in the SaaS offering is that we actually are deploying the customer services as a single tenant. We need to obviously talk about the benefits that provides a certain level, extra layer of security for our customers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How do you see that?
Yes, single tenant solution and multi-tenant solution are 2 different approaches how you can build your application. Both have some pros and cons, obviously. At Kentico, we decided to go with the single tenant solution, mainly because, first of all, it's about the data isolation. It's for enterprise customers, it's a really must-have requirement, and they don't want to share the infrastructure with other customers. So in this scenario with single tenant solution, we can say that the data are physically isolated. So definitely you do not share any resources with anybody. Another advantage of single tenant solution is that it reduces the attack surface. Imagine that there is a website deployed to your environment, and it contains security issue. When there is a security issue, it could probably impact other customers if the resources are shared. Right now, it should be just the isolated, security incident. So if there are any issues, just one customer is impacted and other are safe. So another great advantage of single tenant solution. We can talk also about the data privacy. Some data privacy acts are so strict that they require the strict data isolation, and the multi-tenant solution could be a challenge for such a customer. So definitely another good reason why to go with the single tenant. And
so is that also to do with data sovereignty? So for example, if you don't want to you don't want to be forced to put your data in a region that is kind of not your area, not your country.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's really that relates to data sovereignty too, and it's a great to have the option, for example, to deploy the data to the location you want, for example, from the legal perspective or something like that. We can imagine that some customers don't want to have data hosted, for example, in the Europe, so they can choose the US data center or Australia data center or
Southeast Asia.
Exactly. Whatever is supported by the way, actually by Xperience, by Kentico. So definitely something which relates also to this data sovereignty. And what came to my mind is also that it's also good practice if we want to make business continuity and disaster recovery easier, because it's much easier to recover the data in a single tenant solution, because it has no or limited impact on the other customers. If one customer has some issues, you simply recover the data from this one tenant, and the other tenants are basically up to date and they are running as usual.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was actually going to be my next question, which was about how we approach business continuity and disaster recovery.
Well, again, I will get back to our core security approach, and it's about the risk analysis. First of all, we need to do, the risk assessment to make sure we are aware of the most common threats and vulnerabilities there. Once we have that, we can create the so-called business impact analysis. It's a document where you describe all critical processes, and you simply put it in relation with the risk you identified before, and you know what you should focus on. You know that you have some business critical processes, you know the risks, and right now you said, okay, I need to focus on that, because if something bad happens exactly to this risk or to this process, it will have significant impact on our business and significant impact on our customers. So that's the preparation phase of our business continuity and disaster recovery. And then, of course, we prepare, guidelines for our employees, what to do if something bad happens. And really, really interesting part is also the we call it disaster recovery drill. It's actually exercise.
Fun part, right?
Fun. For me, definitely. We simulated, the disaster, and there are some people, actually our 4-level support group, which are responsible for recovering the service. And it's usually the whole day practice, and we note every step they do. So we are able, to update our guidelines when we see there is some approach which was not successful. So we need to make sure that we will be ready in the production if something really, really bad happens. And there are some outcomes like success factors, which is obviously something we were able to recover. Then there are some opportunities. Basically, we need to improve, the processes. So if we see that something is really time-consuming activity, we usually decide to, prepare some scripts or somehow to automate these processes. So we, get better factors or numbers. I will talk a little bit later about RTO, RPO, and so on, which is a really important metrics in disaster recovery scenario. And also, sometimes happen that there are some, fails, because it can happen that you believe that the script you have to recover some resources could be outdated or something like that, or not working as you expect. So that's something we fix immediately, just to make sure everything is up to date. People are aware of, the latest best practices, so they are able to recover. At the end of the day, when everything is done, we simply sit with the executive team management, and we, present the results of the disaster recovery. So also the executive management is aware of that. And we follow some metrics. And as I said, it's RTO and RPO.
Yes.
RTO is obviously the time you need to recover the service from the disaster. So right now, I believe it's between 1 and 2 hours, which is significantly great number. And RPO it's the amount of data you will lose because it's from the last backup. You recover back to at time. So it depends on when disaster happened, because we do backups regularly every day. So it could be from 1 hour to, for example, 24 hours the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and obviously the customers have the opportunity to do the ad hoc backups as well. So it's not just the regular schedule. It could have been from the last ad hoc one that they've done too. Okay, cool. So is there anything else that we do to kind of help protect our customers' DXP from cyber attacks when they're using the SaaS offering?
Yeah, basically, I mentioned a lot of controls which are implemented here. It's mainly about the product security. We have a very skilled product security team. We try to, automate a lot of things. For example, we also automate the whole infrastructure. So it's written in the codes. It's called infrastructure as a service. So it's easier to deploy, the infrastructure to minimize the outages and to deal with some availability issues. There are some automated security controls which simply, I would say, check a lot of configuration, not only in the infrastructure, but also configuration in terms of external identity providers. We use, for example, Auth0 as an identity provider. So definitely we verify regularly all these critical vendors. If it's Auth0, if it's Microsoft as a platform, as a service, our vendor, or if it's, for example, Cloudflare as a web application firewall. So it's amazing, huge scale what we need to do to protect the customer's data. It's more about the product security, but also that's the reason why we have implemented information security framework here, to make sure people use the service in compliance with these standards. We require, for example, for employees to have multi-factor authentication to access all resources. So there is any additional factors we implemented to make sure that customers' data are always really safe. We implement, some basic security principles like least privilege level. So only specific group of people have, access to the production environment. We implement secure by default, defense in depth, where it is possible to implement. We regularly implement these controls to make sure there are some additional layers of security, not only some basic standards.
So we've talked a lot about how Kentico is working with security and all of the various different things that we do to make sure that our customers have a really secure DXP and a really great experience with the cloud offering as well. But what about those of them who are doing it themselves? For example, perhaps they're utilizing their own Azure subscription, or perhaps they're doing it in a private cloud. What kind of advice would you have to those people in terms of what they can do to make sure that their DXP is going to be as secure as it can be?
Sure. I believe the most important is to stay up to date. So apply the latest hotfixes, patches, and security updates is really crucial for anyone's business, just to make sure it will not have any negative impact if some attacker or bad guys decides to abuse some vulnerability. That's what we saw very often, that I wouldn't say it's a called 0-day vulnerability, but there are some vulnerabilities we face in the hotfix, and then it's up to the our customers to apply the hotfix. So I strongly recommend always apply the latest hotfix, just to make sure the website is up to date. That's really important. What is really important is, as I mentioned, is implement the security into development lifecycle. As our customers are developing their own websites, it's really crucial to think about the security in the early phases, so they can be in a proactive phase, not the reactive. As we said several times, don't wait until something bad happens. So implement the security into the product. Make sure there are some security assessment. It can be done by internal security team, and if you want to have proof that, as I said, you are doing right things, you can ask some external companies to, do the security assessment for you. And it's always good to have, a different point of view on the security. So it's great to have some external assessment too. And of course, it's mostly about the training. Only if you adopt, positive security culture at the company, you could be successful. Train your people about the security. Train, your developers how to write the secure code. It's really amazing to see how it helps, at least at Kentico, when we have repetitive trainings for our developers and they are aware of these vulnerabilities. It's really a good feeling for me that it's a good activity and it's really valuable. And of course, it's really appreciated also by our product security team, because they don't need to, for example, return, the code to the developers because there are some security issues. The quality code is definitely great if people think about the security in the early stages. So definitely security awareness training, staying up to date, and implementing security into development lifecycle, I would say, are most critical factors right now just to be successful.
And so if anybody's interested in learning more about how Kentico addresses security, where should they go? Who should they talk to?
Well, definitely me. No, I'm just kidding. We are preparing amazing, fresh new trust center. So we are putting all security information together on one place. So it will be super easy for our customers to find any security relevant materials, documents. They will be able to see our best practices in terms of security. They will be able to see our external certification, external security assessments. There will be a huge knowledge base where you can simply find answers to your questions, because as you know, and that we receive sometimes a lot of RFPs, and it's basically RFP is a list of questions about the security, and it could have from 100 to 1,000 questions. And right now we will provide the answer to these most common questions to our customers. They just need to navigate to our trust center. So stay tuned, and we will definitely announce that when it will be done.
Sounds like some exciting stuff coming. Thank you so much, Juraj, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and it sounds like we've got a really interesting trust center to look forward to. So stay tuned for that. Lots more coming. Thanks for joining us for yet another amazing series of Product Insights.